Hello everyone, how is it going, and welcome back to another sorcery video. In today's video, I want to have a bit of a chat about the court sites that got released on the Dust Store the other week. These are 4 brand new elite rarity sites. They're completely new, mechanically unique cards that are only currently available on the Dust Store, which, yes, I know has caused a bit of an outcry from the community. This video is not really about that, but I guess to give my 2 cents, living in Australia, I agree that it's kind of annoying to only have them available via the Dust Store because the cost of shipping just to get cards from the Dust Store is absurd, and it's kind of hard to build up Dust here as well because the local communities are just not as established. But putting that all to the side, I actually want to talk more about the cards themselves because I think they are going to have a really big impact on the meta. So before we get into the full discussion, let's just quickly go over each of the cards. So first up, we have Court of Equity, which provides Earth Threshold and has an ability that reads Elite spells cost an additional 1 mana to cast and uniques an additional 2 mana. Next up, we have Mobbed Court, which provides Fire Threshold and has an ability that reads players lose 1 life whenever they cast an elite spell and 2 for uniques. Next up is the Overflowing Court, which provides Water Threshold and has a Genesis ability that says other courts are disabled until your next turn. And finally, we have a Mock Court, which provides Air Threshold and has an ability that says ordinary minions cost an additional 1 to summon. And this is actually the card I want to focus on because personally, I think it's probably the card that's going to have the biggest impact on the meta right now, because casting ordinary minions is really important to a lot of game plans. I've picked out some cards here which I kind of want to go through and show you how it may impact the meta going forward. So firstly, we have Release of the Hounds, which is an elite magic. It costs 7 mana, and it simply allows you to summon 2 Hellhounds from your collection to your avatar's location, and they gain charge. If your opponent has a Mock Court in play, not only are you paying 7 mana to play this card, but you also have to pay an additional 1 mana for each Hellhound that gets summoned, because Hellhounds are ordinary minions, so they're affected by the card. So cards like Release the Hound get substantially weaker when there's Mock Court on the field. Next up is Border Militia, kind of the same story. This is a really, really playable card at the moment because if played at the right time, it can allow you to really, build up a lot of foot soldier tokens on the realm. And it's really cost effective for 3 mana. However, if Mock Court is available and your opponent has played it, instead of just summoning 4 foot soldier tokens for 3 mana, you are instead potentially paying 5, 6, or 7 mana to get those foot soldiers on the board. Same story for Boulevard of Bones. This is a great card. It's an Earth Threshold elite site. Whenever another site is played to an adjacent square, you summon a skeleton token there. With Mock Court, if that's available on the realm, this is no longer summoning free skeleton tokens, you're instead paying for them. And finally, it affects Necromancer, which is the talk of the town right now, because Necromancer's whole game plan is around summoning cheap, ordinary minions through skeletons for 1 mana. So, the game plan for Necromancer potentially gets really, really obstructed by Mock Court. So, what I want to talk about in today's video is my thoughts on this, because I personally think that it's actually not that big a deal, which is kind of weird to say, but I think Mock Court is not going to ruin Necromancer. I think Necromancer is actually still going to remain one of the best, if not the best avatars in the game right now, irrespective of this card, and I think that for a few reasons. Firstly, Mock Court is an elite rarity site, so because of that, you can only have 2 of them in your atlas, so in a lot of games, you're unlikely to see Mock Court, or if you do see Mock Court, it might not be until the mid to late game where the skeletons are not so important and you're more so focused on casting your big game changer minions or spells to win the game. Additionally, there are cards that we can put in Necromancer decks to basically eliminate the threat of Mock Court, and I've kind of picked some out here. Well, it's actually 2 that I've picked out that I think are basically an instant include in Water Necromancer decks going forward. The first is Acid Rain, which is a 3 mana 1 Water Threshold aura. It silences affected sites and artifacts there, so if you play this onto a Mock Court, the ability gets nullified and you don't have to worry about it anymore. So As well as that, silencing artifacts and other sites is a useful ability to have, so I think this card kind of makes sense to be running in Necromancer decks going forward. You can have 2 of them in the deck. And then the other one is Sinkhole, which is just some site destruction here. Sinkhole's an elite site. It provides no threshold, but you can sacrifice it to destroy a nearby site. So those are 2 cards that I kind of picked out of my collection that I think will work well with Necromancer to kind of help the threat of Mock Court, or at least to help you deal with it. So overall, I don't think it's going to ruin Necromancer. I think you just need to run a bit more site destruction and have ways to silence sites, and you should be okay. There are plenty of other cards like those 2 that I just showed you that will do the same thing in other colors, so it's going to be okay, I think. I hope. I guess we'll have to wait and find out to see, but overall, I think Mock Court will be run in a lot of decks, particularly the ones that do not rely on ordinary minions, and then the meta's just going to have to adapt through some cards that can deal with sites that are troublesome. So overall, those are just my thoughts on the sites, or on the courts. I think they're cool. I don't know if the other 3 are really going to see too much play. I think they have their place, but they're not going to be meta-defining, so we'll just have to wait and see what that all looks like. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.